Okay, I don't know how this got on my phone, and every now and then you run across some, crazy videos or something pops up. And so whenever I see something, I just, either you can hit a feature that tells you, um, you can choose from not interested so that they don't send those things anymore. And a lot of times I've done that a lot of things, like if I see videos that pop up in a feed that come from places like churches and things like that, I hit not interested. Um, the thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is what popped up was some black lady, and she, she looked like a regular black lady woman, and right away it was going into this woman. I already knew what it was going to be about. This woman was looking for love for 30 years, and she dressed like a man. I knew right away what it was going to be about. That it was going to be about probably the woman was gay or lesbian or whatever, and she dressed like a man or whatever. And so I thought it was stupid. I really got tired of hearing it. I didn't want to hear it anymore, so I hit not interested. Okay, so for these religious people, not all lesbians dress like males and look like males. Some do, but not all of them look like men. Some look very feminine. And, I live here in California and in LA and West Hollywood, Santa Monica, and there's certain parts there's gay community all over, but the hubs are, if you will, are the places where, like, I could just call out that where most gay community is most concentrated is in West Hollywood area, um, and Santa Monica, Los Feliz. There's also, I was trying to think of that other city. There's another city, part of the city, where there's a, a large population of gay and lesbian community of people, and not all women who are lesbian or bisexual look like males. And so right away when they were doing that, it was like selling people this idea that this woman was so lonely and she couldn't find love because the way she looked. Not all women are looking for a relationship either. So I wonder what 700 Club has to say about that, because some women don't want to be in a relationship. What did they say about women that want to be by themselves? Because most of these churches always try to push people to get in these marriages that turn out to be really disastrous. And so I just think it's a bunch of duty, a crock of duty rather. And not everybody is interested in getting hooked up with every male that's in these churches, because sometimes in the churches there are men that are very sneaky and they fool around with different women in the churches. And so just because it's a church doesn't mean it's safe to date every man that's in there, that he's perfect and he's the right guy and he's going to be the right mate. And not everybody is interested in looking for or hunting for a relationship. Some may be, but that's not everybody's agenda. And so I just think that this right here, I always looked at it as always the older people in my family would always watch this. It would come on TV and it was so boring. And they would have all these stories about how they helped people and did this and did that. And I really ultimately feel like if people want to, help them, they want to help themselves, they got to do it themselves. They got to do it themselves. It may have different ways of doing it. Some people do search out religious organizations, but I don't feel like it's a, for me that it's an appropriate thing because I don't really like religion. I don't like these churches. I don't trust any of these churches. I despise them. I feel like they create more problems. And, I've been to a lot of them. I've been to a whole lot of them. And a lot of times people that are in these churches are not perfect either. And some people have this idea, this fantasy that these people in these churches are perfect, and they're not. Look at some of the stuff that you see in the news. Yet you see a lot of African American, groups that will still cling to these churches. And you got to watch. Sometimes there are people in the churches that will do more damage than people on the street. You know, what I found to be very conflicting is it says, "Come as you are." And so if it says come as you are, then you should accept people for who they are, but these churches don't. And so, with that being said, if people are gay, they should be able to come as they are, right? But a lot of these churches won't accept those people for who they are. Now, some people might get mad at what I'm saying, but I don't feel like gay people are a problem. I feel like the people who are afraid or who don't know about the gay community or won't learn about it or refute it are the problem. I feel like if you're that persistent on obsessing on gay people, then maybe you yourself have the issue. Um, I don't have a problem with gay people, lesbian people, bisexual people. I feel like this. If I was a person that doesn't want to be a participant in that kind of lifestyle, then there it is. There's no argument. Some people are gay and some people are not. But for people to persist and to be real avid about scapegoating these people and belittling these people and putting these people out, these are people's brothers, sisters, cousins, mothers, even daughters, sons. It's not going to change who these people are in your lives, whether they're in or out of your lives. Some people have risked their life. They've been killed because of who they decide to be in relationships with. Some people are not happy about people being in interracial relationships. You can never make any of these individuals happy. They don't want you to be in an interracial relationship. They don't want you to be in an alternative, I call it gay, lesbian, and all that LGBTQ alternative relationship. They don't want you to be in that. Yet you have these videos of these clowns saying all this nasty stuff about women. And then when some woman is angry at a man and says something demeaning or derogatory towards men, or says she dislikes males or she dislikes something about them, the men hurry up and jump on that video because they do not like when women do basically the same thing that they've been doing all these years. And so that's why I've pulled away from a lot. And I've seen what people do. I've seen what men do. Um, how they all this drinking, sleeping around with all these different women. That won't go to the doctor, but they want to get in a relationship with you and give you germs. And that's the way I feel, honestly. There might be some who are really good about going to the doctor, but for the most part, I haven't really actively seen certain men, raise their hand. Oh, I get a checkup at least once every year. I've gotten an HIV test and I test negative. Most times their thing is, and especially I'm going to bring it back to the Black males, that you are putting yourself at risk if you sleep around with different people unprotected. And the rites of passage of being a male in the Black community, probably other groups as well, is sleep with as many as women and whatever else is out there as you can, and that pushes you in the manhood. And what it does is push you in the HIV hood and AIDS and other diseases and headaches. And as a male, You think they would have sense enough to say, I'm not going to let myself out there and expose myself to germs. And then not only that, catching a court case for child support, paternity suit, or something like that. And so you'd think that they would think clear and think, let me throw away all these bad habits because these pimps and hustlers and players taught them that dumb stuff. And a lot of them, you hear them complaining on the internet about they have these paternity suits and child support. And some of it wasn't because of that, because of the bad training. Some of it was because they got in these relationships and they weren't careful, or they just thought maybe they were with somebody they wanted to be with at the time. And then they turn around and it didn't work out. And then a baby resulted in that. And then they realized they didn't want to be with the woman because being with her now, oh man, it's miserable because they don't click. They have different personalities, but there's this baby involved. And so they want to kind of like dip out on the baby too. Like it's the baby's fault. It's not the baby's fault. It's your fault. You have to hold yourself accountable just like women do. And so that's the reason why I don't like these churches, because they don't teach responsibility. Uh, Parents are not teaching responsibility, must be the case. And then even if they are teaching the responsibility, these older men who had these bad habits, look at the mistakes they've made. Look at what they are doing and what they've done and how they've screwed their lives up, and don't do it. Simple as that. And not all lesbians look like men. So the men that feel threatened by this because they can't do the same thing that women do, all lesbians do not look like men. Newsflash, all lesbians do not look like males. Some of them look a lot like females and very much are females, and they are very attractive. And so you need to not buy into this stereotype of what a lesbian is supposed to look like, because there's different kinds of lesbians. Not everybody looks the same. Just like not all Black people look the same, not all Latin people look the same, not all white people look the same. Well, guess what? Not all gay community looks the same. And sometimes gay people don't look gay. There's some gay people out there that don't look gay either. Um, so there's some lesbians that look a little more, masculine, and there's some that look what they call butch, and there's some that look tomboyish, but they still have their feminine ways. And then there's some women who are just extremely feminine, and they happen to be in a relationship with another woman. So freaking what? It's life. Get over it, move on. Religion isn't perfect. Just because it's a religion or a group doesn't make these people perfect. They make mistakes. And for them to be selling this online and on their TV shows or whatever, or the time they buy for these little uh, airing of what they can do for the community, a lot of them take money from people. A lot of them don't give back to the community. Some do, and some don't. Some of them have a lot of sneaky people that are not honest, and they're corrupt in these religions. And we've seen that with the Catholic religion, where a lot of little boys have been getting raped, probably girls too, by these clergymen and by these reverends we have in the Black community. They take money out of the Black community, steal from their own Black people, and they drive around in fancy cars and have fancy houses and mansions. And then they want you to put thousands of dollars in the collection. Not mean that they're perfect and that they're going to save the world, because what they've been doing is destroying a lot of people and helping to divide people. Now, there are some groups that really have the intent of trying to do the good or the greater good of people, but that's not every religious group. A lot of these mega churches have agendas that aren't always great. A lot of these huge churches have a lot of drama, and the more people, the more drama is going to be. And so I see a lot of stuff online with these guys, and they hate seeing Black women with white men, but they love it when they're with white women. They love that. They don't want you to say anything against that. They love to talk about how women ain't shit and women did this and women did that. But when they do something wrong, they don't like it when women say, I don't want to be with any more men. Oh man, their antennas go up and they start flaring up at you because they think that automatically, because they're a man, they have access to every woman's what she has between her legs. And so it's an ego thing. And that might be why some women have chosen to stay single because they don't like that, because it's something wrong with that. Anytime you feel that you have access to every woman, then that means you're probably not going to be safe with your own health. And you're going to be like what they say, rooting around like a little dog. And you're not going to go to the doctor and you're going to be impregnating every woman that's out there, or you're going to be spreading your, germs around and, the gift that keeps on giving. And so this is the kind of thing that happens and people don't talk about it enough. They always cling to these religions. And so I remember this 700 Club. When I was little, I used to see it on TV. It was boring as hell and still is. All the old Black people in my family, they'd be looking at this stuff when they were old and they couldn't see hardly anymore. They could just hear, and they'd be sitting in the chair in the grandfather chair, reared back, eating, looking at this mess. And so, I just wanted to get that off my chest. I just think it's really silly. And, if you really want to get your life in order, you don't actually have to go to these buildings and around these facetious people. Because I find a lot of times when you go to some of these churches, they're nosy. They want to get in your business. They want to find out personal things about you. And then they want to make you feel guilty about being human. Yeah, humans make mistakes. They do things, make bad decisions, and they learn from them. Some learn late, but that's all a part of life. And that's what life is being a human. You're going to make mistakes and you're going to make bad decisions. And then it's what you do with it later down the road that is the indicator of what kind of person you turn up to be. Either you keep making those bad decisions or you finally wise up and say, I'm not going to do this because it hasn't helped me this far. So I'm going to change my actions. And sometimes it comes with experience. And so you don't need a Bible and religion to always dictate to you when you're making bad choices. So with that being said, I'm going to let this video go, but I think that some of these groups needed to be honest. What I didn't like when I used to go to this one church is that the pastor, he would speak to one group of people because their race was different, and he was losing all of his Black following because he would never speak up on the issues that would happen in the Black community. And so he only had like a handful of Black people that were attending his service. And the rest of them it was always about immigration and always about that, as if the neighborhood isn't mixed. Most of these neighborhoods, especially in LA, have a mixture of Black and Hispanic people or Latino people of all sorts. And so Black people still live here. And so when you ignore Black communities' problems and only talk about what's happening in Mexico and in Mexican lifestyle and ignore Black people, then it drives a wedge and more division. And so I find that these churches, sometimes they create division. They don't speak up on the issues that happen in Black community as if we don't exist anymore. And so with all these shootings, and then to have somebody stand up in church and say that all lives matter when you have Black people getting gunned down is not a way to draw your followers. And so you're going to make people want to leave. And when you do that kind of stuff, you're not being true. You're not being honest. And then when you always bring up the issues of marriage and make it seem like marriage is always something perfect, and you never talk about the woes of marriage and the realities of marriage, then that also is very, very, very wrong to do that, because you're not being honest about some of the hangups that people have in those relationships, because all marriages always aren't that great. So I don't like these groups because they sometimes they don't tell the truth. And sometimes the very person that's up there doing the talking, they might have been somebody that they might even still be, dishonest. And they're not telling the real issues with what their whole agenda is. And so, anyway, I feel like this, and I will never change these feelings because I've been to many churches in the LA area. I've been to West Angeles Church. I've been to, I can't even name all of them, but I've been to many churches. Actually, at one time, I was a member of West Angeles, and West Angeles has a lot of Black members, um, but it's huge. You could almost say it was like a mega church that were stealing money, and there was a big scene over that, and that was some years back. But we will do another video about church issues alone, But some of these groups in these churches, you got to watch because sometimes, what happened with West Angeles, there was some guy, and I actually knew who he was. I knew him before he became real popular. He got into politics. He ended up marrying like somebody from the church that was pretty popular, big, I think, the Reverend's daughter or something like that. And it turns out he was stealing money out of the church finances or something, or using money, mismanaging money. And so it was a big fiasco behind that. So it goes without saying, like I said, some of these churches, you got to watch some of the corruption that they're involved in. So with that being said, I'm going to let this video go, but it's reality. So thanks for listening.